if you want a life where the world comes to you rather than you having to go chase it down, even prostitute your gift to get a little bit in return, you want the world to come to you, and it's on your terms. This is the path.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step. Just let go. Brandon Hawk is on the show today, and this is a very unique conversation. You'll know what I mean when we get started. Brandon had two dreams when he was growing up. One, play at Wimbledon, play tennis, and two, become a motivational speaker. So for number one, by age 14, he made the U.S. national team. He went on and he did play at Wimbledon. No big deal, right? And then eventually he also checked off that second goal. But there's a lot that happened in between. He just has this unique ability to really channel, and use that for business. So he's been extremely successful, growing multi-million-dollar companies, over 700% growth for one of his companies. Selling them. He's been on a journey where he's studied the science of the mind and then taught that to large groups of people, and eventually evolved into doing high-performance executive coaching. His story is extremely colorful. He ended up giving a TEDx talk, and literally he shows up on the stage and says, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say. And he just let it flow from there, which I have not seen anyone really do before. So listen and learn to Brandon and keep an open mind if you can, please. Remember, he has a ton of success under his belt, both personally with personal development and business. He has a lot to share. And his approach is different, as you will see. I'm grateful that he was able to join us. We tackle the most taboo topics on the Why Not Now show. Oftentimes, you're hearing guests share things they've never shared before. In the spirit of things we don't typically talk about, you should know that the Why Not Now show is supported by Poo-Pourri, the original before-you-go toilet spray. It's magic. My friends at Poo-Pourri have literally taken the smell out of you-know-what. This pure blend of essential oils stops bathroom odor before it begins. Visit poopourri.com, and Why Not Now listeners get 20% off with code WHYNOTNOW. That's all one word. And you can hear the story about Poo-Pourri in our interview with founder Susie Batiste. That's Why Not Now episode 28. Poo-Pourri is also available at Bed Bath & Beyond. Brandon, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's a real honor.
Likewise. It's an honor to have you on this show, and I can't wait to see what unfolds. In the spirit of getting started and hopping right in, can you tell me about a time when you had a big decision to make and you asked yourself, why not now? And we will talk it through.
Great. And before I do that, I want to acknowledge I'm definitely feeling some fast energy inside of myself. And so I want to acknowledge that and, just give voice to that fast energy that I'm feeling of excitement. So, it's with me right now.
Thank you for
Always
vocalizing
important for me to create that acknowledgement. Yeah. So that question, right? That question, why not now? What a beautiful question. And I have that on a micro level daily, right? And also on a macro level when I look back on my life. And I think let's just talk macro on a big picture. One that comes up is, about 7 years ago, I knew very little about the coaching business, if anything. And I was living in Texas. I was a senior pastor of a church, and I had a school of transformation that was very successful. And I was invited to this coaching conference in San Diego, and I'm from Texas, and literally knew nothing about coaching, but I did feel like, man, I need to go here. Like this is something that I need to step into. And so my wife and I went, and we were staying at the lodge at Torrey Pines. I love to play golf. It's an amazing golf course there, Torrey Pines Golf Course. And I'm just thinking on the plane ride over, I'm like, well, I may just not go to this conference, and I'm just going to take a little vacation and just play golf. And I really kind of had that moment as we were flying, like, no, this person is doing what you want to be doing. You need, like go there, and you go there humbly. Go there in a way where you are open and receptive and listening. And so I went there really with the mind of a student. Like, I was just ready. And so I'm at this coaching conference, and this individual, I knew nothing about selling coaching packages or anything like that. And he, after the third day, he's selling one of his coaching packages, and it was one of his high-end coaching packages to partner with him and to learn how to do what he is doing. And I just knew, why not now? Like, I needed to do this. You've got to remember, I was a pastor, so I was making anywhere from, $60,000 to $80,000 at that time, and the package was $120,000 to partner with him and to, just be right with him on his journey. And I did it, and I knew it, and it was the first time, maybe, that I partnered with myself like I wanted everyone else to partner with me. And I hope your audience can hear that, and I hope everybody listening can hear that. I finally partnered with me like I wanted everyone else in my world to partner with me at an extravagant level, right? But I was unwilling to partner with me at an extravagant level. And I did it. I finally did it for me. And my wife and I, through some investments with my parents' company that we had, I have a company with my parents, and we had some money saved up. We had exactly $120,000 saved up to build a house. And Jenny and I took that money, and we already owned the land and everything. We took that money that we were building our house with, and we put it into a coaching package. And I'll never forget sitting out there in the hot tub with Jenny after we signed up and said, this is what we're going to do. We felt like we had just, like we did it, like it's done. We have the title deed to a whole new level of abundance, to the new house. And within a year, I went from making $60,000 to $80,000 to making $600,000. And then the next year, 1.2 million, coaching executives, athletes, celebrities on self-love. And so, self-love, right? Making $1.2 million on self-love. And so that was one of my big moments, like, why not now? And it was really about me partnering with myself in a way that I wanted the world to partner with me. And a realization that I'd nickeled and dimed myself and expected a lot from others, but wasn't willing to give myself what I wanted from everyone else. And so huge learning lesson for me, and then also a huge catalyst in elevation. Yeah, that's a big one.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge one. And there's so many facets that I would love to dive in deeper, given your journey and your background. And maybe we shelve this for a minute because I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your journey. But one of the areas is this spiritual wealth and financial wealth, and how you are able to have both, not feel like you had to give up one for the other. And in fact, one led, it feels like, potentially to the other, and you investing in yourself netted out in the biggest ROI for everyone, spiritually and financially. So I do want to get into that, but maybe just bookmark it for a second, because A, you mentioned you have a micro. Why not now? And B, I want to know this voice that said no on the plane, and how we can all turn up the volume on the voice. And then, of course, your journey, and just as a childhood too. So start wherever you'd like. I won't forget. And interviewers are never supposed to ask 3 questions at once, so I just broke the rules. But
I like how you broke all the rules there. It's very on brand.
Yeah, so I just have so many things. I appreciate you bringing the energy level to a little bit of a different cadence as well, because I was feeling if you're listening to this, what you didn't hear was when Brandon and I hopped on the call, my heart was racing because I knew it was getting ready for a big workout. Having only spoken with Brandon once before, but he's a very special human being who has this ability to connect and go straight in. So I was just ready for this, and then we had a few technical difficulties. So anyway, so the energy it's finding its flow. So where do you want to go with this? Where do you want to go next?
I would love, I could just feel that right there. I would love for you and I and the audience just to like sink in right here. You can feel the magic. It's in the air, and just to sink into our hearts. Like let's go in a little deeper and just kind of like breathe into that space. There's so much power in that, in connecting with that field, that cardiac field. I know for me on a micro level, why not now is in the courage to lead with my heart and the courage to give voice to my heart. That right there, not to bypass my heart for a deal, not to bypass my heart for performance, not to bypass my heart for production, but to stay attuned to where I really am in the moment. That level of congruence, that level of integrity, that level of safety to my heart and my internal world is what is producing for me, not just external success. That's easy. That's the old game. That's an easy game. We all know how to do that and create success and go to the top. And if you got any kind of brain or talent, you can do that. It's about connected success now. How connected can we become in our success? And that is, for me, has been having the courage not to abandon my heart to produce a result. That shows up for me in having courageous conversations. Yeah, just being honest with how I'm feeling. Yeah, those kind of things in the moment, If I'm at home with family, being willing to speak up and not stay in the family pattern of pain denial. If it's with my wife, who we've been together since we were 16, and I'm 39, she's 38. A willingness to be fully open with where we are, those are the moments, right? Those are like, whoa. Those are the power moments. Those moments where you feel like you could lose everything, but you gain it all in the moment of expression. To me, those are the moments, and those are the people that I look up to that are willing to play that game. My background as a professional athlete, I played in the U.S. Open when I was 17, won a round in the main draw of the U.S. Open when I was 17. So I know the game of external success without being connected to my heart. And that's an even greater hell,
Yeah. And let's talk about that a little bit more, Brandon. I've heard you say different versions of basically what you were doing was more important than how you felt at one point, and the vision was more important than the visionary, and the hustle was more important than your heart. That transition, and knowing that you have a process for transition, I think is where a lot of us listening to this and in this place are trying to figure out where why not now to a lot of people may mean why not now start a business, why not now do anything externally. And it feels to me that oftentimes that can be a disguise for, if not always, what's really going on internally. Why not now, flip it around? So talk to me a little bit about that for you.
I think, something that is so important to me before I take action, and I believe in inspired action, not manic action. Those are two different ways to take action. There's a big manic action movement that's really just escapism, and it's accepted escapism in a perform for value world. And so manic action is really accepted because we live in a produce and perform for value society. But it is escapism at its finest. Inspired action is the game for me, and it's an action that comes out of inspiration, not desperation. It's so important for those out there that are wanting to take external action to ask themselves, what is the origination? What is the motivation behind this? Because that originating feeling that you start your action from is how that action will have to be sustained throughout the process. So if you're taking that out of hurt, if you're taking an action out of hurt, I'm hurt, so I'm going to do this. Well, now you have just ensured that the process you're going to go through is going to be really painful because it's how it started. And I think it's so important to make sure, and for some it's out of lack, right? Why do you have a lot of people that have made a lot of money but they still feel like they don't have any money? It's because of how it started. And so a lot of times, I work with highly successful individuals, very elite, some of the most elite on the planet. And we have to go back to that origination point and start anew from a feeling that they want to sustain and continue with throughout the rest of their life. And so that's a journey, right? That's a journey. There's a real journey from lack to feeling provided for. There's a real journey from pain bondage to freedom. And for anybody that out there right now that's on a journey, right, a transition journey, I want you to hear that there's 4 stages of that transition that you're going to go through. And I take, I have products and take my clients, I take them on a journey from the head, from mental protectionism to the heart, to true heart connection. And that journey, what I've seen is whether it's a journey from fear to love or head to the heart, or just a journey in a business, a transition journey in a business from one vision to another. There's 4 distinct stages. Those distinct stages are, first, it's the reveal, right? It's the great reveal. Oh, you didn't know what you didn't know, and now you know. Like, oh, my eyes are opened. It's like, this is amazing. Oh, this perspective is phenomenal. This is so, this new idea is, it's bliss. This is what I've been looking for all of my life, right? It's that moment of reveal. Your eyes have been opened. And that's a really special season. There's a lot of just newness and bliss and just feels so good. It's kind of like camp high, right? Or conference high. You just, this is great. I wish I could just live at this conference all day, every day. And so that's kind of like the first stage. There's this reveal, right? And then the second season, when you're going through this process of transition, or I've called it people in transition, which you can play out to the pit, right? PIT. People in transition, reveal, and then you move into confrontation, confront. There's that right after reveal, then everything now is confronted. Have you ever been in a business where there was one leader and now there's a new leader or there's a new vision? And it's like everything in the past gets confronted by this new vision. And like, I thought this was supposed to be amazing. I thought this new guy was supposed to be awesome. I thought this new, I thought the newness was supposed to be awesome. Now it sucks. This is awful. There's so much confrontation. There's so much disturbance. There's so much awkwardness. Everyone feels awkward. No one knows what to do. It's like on my journey from the head to the heart, right? It's like this confrontation season. Now everything is confronted that was built out of mental protectionism. Everything is confronted that was built out of fear. Oh, so that's intense. That's very intense, that confrontation season. Maybe you're on a transition with your partner or with your spouse, or like that confrontation season is like, oh, it's intense. It gets worse, right, before it gets better. And so I love if you're in that place of, man, everything feels awkward, everything's disturbed, it's just, right? Way to go. You're on the path. I know for me, when you're in confrontation, especially if you're a leader, there's a season of being a joke, right? There's a season of like, you're kind of a joke. Like Brandon is a star athlete and he's this, he was supposed to come in and build this amazing church, and there's only this many people here, and it's like there's a season for me during my own deconstruction in my own journey where I had the experience of being a joke. So good for me. And that usually happens in that confrontation season. That's where I really had to come to a place within myself. Do I believe in this thing? Do I believe in me? And then there's the third season, which is transform. And for those out there listening, transformation means a marked change in physical or emotional appearance, right? Like there is a marked change. And oftentimes the world can't see the change, but you've changed. Say you're shifting a culture in a company. Maybe the outside world hadn't seen it yet, or even the board of directors haven't seen it yet, but it's shifted. And this is where you start to really, when you enter into transform, when you have changed, this is maybe even tougher than the confrontation season, because what you're asked to do in transform is you're asked to prune the branch. And you finally have one piece of fruit that's like, oh, look, I've done it. Like, we've done it. We've got this one win and this one victory. And it's like, can you let everything else fall away? And then can you also prune the fruitful branch back? And then you're like, well, I would be left with nothing.
I think I'm following in terms of what that literally would kind of a literal example be. I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday who they left their job. It was a very high profile, fancy title. They're happy. They're becoming an entrepreneur. They've gone through, it feels like a lot of these stages, and a lot of the people around them are no longer jiving, or their friends. Does that mean what you mean by prune as far as? Oh yeah.
And it's tough to let the branches that aren't in resonance anymore fall away, like friendships, employee, like, can you really let those things fall away? I work with a lot of people that they hire their friends so that they don't have to feel alone. And so can they let those relationships fall away? The ones that were built out of codependency. Do they really have because it means you're just left with yourself. And then can they let that one branch, that one friendship, or that one connection that's in full resonance, okay, we're going to build from this thing. We're going to build from it. And we're going to go all in on it. And that for me, my transform season was really like, okay, can I really put all of my money into myself? Can I prune that branch back way? You mean all of it, all of what I've put together, like all of it for my house and my security? And shouldn't a good dad provide a home for his family and not spend it on a coaching package, right? Like I had to put it all on that moment. Yeah, all the way to zero. And that was a practical example for me, really pruning back my fruitful branch. And yeah, Yeah, that's a beautiful season, because what happens in the transform season is you really start to create elevated connections, and you start to create real partnerships that are built around the new values. Yeah, it starts to get really connected. And then the final stage is manifest. You start to manifest all the things that you've seen. The culture starts to become real, and you start to manifest that culture. And you move into a place of being a teacher. You move into a place of, and I didn't say in transform you become a threat. So the stages of all great leaders, right? It's joke, threat, teacher. And you start to threaten the establishment in transform, and then in manifest, you become the teacher. You're a city set apart. The business is like, man, teach us how to do what you guys do. Teach us about how to create a partnership and a marriage like you guys have.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. If you are digging this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It just takes a moment, and it means a ton to us. Also, after recording more than 100 episodes, I've created a bit of a cheat sheet on the top 5 things I've learned from renegades and how they get from idea to action, from dreaming to doing. I will email you the downloadable PDF when you subscribe to my newsletter. Just head to amyjomartin.com and click on Connect with Me. Joke, threat, teacher. Oh my gosh, that's so it. That's just, wow. Okay, Brandon, I'm super curious. Well, first of all, can we talk about West Texas for a minute? Just a minute, because I think it's valuable for everyone to hear that you haven't always been the heart guy, right? Or maybe you have, but on the exterior you weren't, because listening, to your TED Talk and hearing about your father was a bull rider and your mom being the beauty queen. And it sounds like it was very much like my upbringing in rural Wyoming of there's some tough love. And how did you get it? Certainly from your story, we can understand some pieces. For someone who has never been the inside heart person that is looking to move more toward that side of the spectrum, what advice would you have for them if they're willing to explore and dabble a little more?
I would say we've all been the heart person. We just lost it at a certain age. And I lost mine. I disconnected from my heart and my tenderness, my emotions, my emotional depth at the age of 9. My dad, I'll never forget, I struck out, or I actually popped it up, and the catcher caught it, and in a baseball game, and my dad was the first base coach, and I slammed my bat on the ground. I just started crying, like every 9-year-old, opening day, first at bat. I mean, it was like all the emotion was built up, and I slammed my bat down and I started crying, and I walked by the first base coach, who's my dad, and he says, "Get dried up, Brandy, get your ass in the dugout." And what I heard was, man, my emotions are too much, and I just need to hit home runs. That's where I stopped. But before that, I'm deeply sensitive, very tender, and I think we all are. We all are. We all had that tenderness, but yet it was at a moment we learned to shut it off to produce and to perform for value and a little bit of love. And so yeah, I did not grow up in an environment that was conducive to emotional connection. Even though I had great parents, right? I had parents that supported my dreams. I had parents, my dad worked hard for our family. I didn't ever worry about having a meal or a roof over my head. Very principled people. But that's even for if you've grown up in that kind of world, it's even like a greater disguise, right? Because there's a lot of good that comes from it, but there's also massive amount of aloneness. I felt deeply alone. I've noticed with my clients, they either feel a deep aloneness or a deep rejection. Same thing, same coin, just different sides. For me, it was aloneness. I felt a deep aloneness. A lot of people always wanted to be around me, very charismatic, outgoing, but I felt very alone. To have that, right, that supported family, principled family, a lot of physical safety, but emotional connection was just not there. That chasm, that gap, to have a family that we could produce together but not feel together, that's not good enough for me anymore.
So I have like 7 places I would love to take this conversation, and I'm trying to prioritize. One is kind of dynamic between spiritual wealth and financial wealth, and your story and journey. And it sounds like you were very rooted in, well, obviously in religion, given what you did, and chose to make some changes. And just your point of view on the relationship between spiritual and financial wealth would be really interesting to hear.
I think amassing wealth is I mean, it's not personal, right? For someone who's living just based on the external. If we're going to take emotion out of it, if we're going to take the heart out of it, if we're going to take it, amassing wealth is that to me can be done. If you're going to amass wealth in a way where you feel connected to your wealth, that's a whole different game. That's an inside-out game, right, versus an outside-in game. The outside-in game of just amassing wealth and maybe that'll feel good to me, good luck. That's why I have a successful coaching business from those people. The inside-out game is the game where I want my internal wealth to produce my external wealth. That's a whole different commitment. But it is where, man, the money that I make now, I can feel it, right? And it's beautiful to be able to feel the success that I have now, not just the burden of success. I can actually feel the goodness of that success. And so there's a direct correlation between my now being on this path, this inside-out path of my internal wealth and external wealth. I actually do not want my external to exceed my internal, right? I want those to be in congruence. And so that always puts the responsibility on me and what is happening inside of me. My external reality, I know, is a picture of my internal reality. I believe there's a direct correlation there.
The internal wealth produces your external wealth. When you were on the plane flying to San Diego and considering taking a little break and just going golfing at Torrey Pines, I think it was, and then the voice said no. Can you talk to me a little bit about that voice and how it surfaces in your life, what direction you take from it, and how you have been able to hone it?
Yeah, the great religion, a lot of, the great religions of the world have different names for that voice. I really don't care what you call it. I call it that inner knowing, right? In one season of my life, I would have called it the Holy Spirit, but it's just a knowing. I know that at that moment, it's funny, on planes, I'm very connected to that inner knowing. I think it's because of the height. Because the vibration is so much faster. But yeah, that inner knowing. Have you ever gotten on a plane and you just can't stop writing or journaling?
Oh, all the time. It's one of my favorite things. Sometimes I just want to take trips just for that reason.
Yeah, that's right. So that inner knowing is and I connect to it. It's just an inner knowing that happens right in the middle of my chest, oftentimes as well in my stomach. I'm getting really connected to the inner knowing that's in my stomach. It was that inner knowing in my chest, almost, and it really was like a rebuke in that moment, like no.
Did you feel that the inner knowing became and started to trump the traditional kind of, and transcended the religion, and I'm using air quotes here, because of what you were doing before? And how did that feel when you were reconciling that of like, who's in charge here?
Yeah, that's right. My relationship with my inner knowing started to trump my religion, and that caused some real problem.
Whoa, there's
not just my religion that was one of them, the religion and the denomination that I was in, but also my relationship with performance and my relationship with approval and all the addictions that I had that were built around my reputation, right? My addiction to approval, external approval. That relationship started to really mess up a lot of my structures. the great deconstruction.
Yeah, back to your transformation process. I can only imagine the healthy tension and your inner knowing trumping your relationship with everything, your religion, your beliefs, and wow.
I want you to know this message is, and for people that are really going for the true inside out congruence, head to the heart, living from the inside out. It is messy, it's intense. It is not for the faint of heart, because it goes after everything that's built out of mental protectionism. It goes after all of that, and my family, we had. We did church together. We had businesses together. We lived on the same block. There wasn't a stone that didn't go unturned, especially around codependence. There was so much codependency within myself and my family that had to be addressed. Yeah, it was that deconstruction. It cost me a lot, Amy. It cost me a lot. Like, I know what it's like to lose it all, but then I also know the reward of gaining it all and gaining myself, gaining that relationship and connection with me. It feels fun, really fun, to build from that place, that relationship with myself, that inner knowing, right? And letting the chips fall where they may.
To me, this has become the priority, why not now, right? It trumps everything, and easily other why not nows can be disguises for actually needing this. And
stay with that right there. That's like, I hope everyone heard that. Oftentimes those micro why not now, those why not nows of doing this business or doing that or doing, is a disguise for the bigger one.
It is, and I think we flame that disguise, or we just fan it because of this romanticism around entrepreneurship and change, and it's easy to think that's the solution, that's the holy, grail or whatever. So full disclosure too to the listeners, I don't know if you're feeling this, but I'm just nodding, and my whole body is just like, yes, this is. Everything you're saying is resonating in a big way. A while back, Brandon and I had a session, and I had asked him to help out with. He became highly recommended, and I had asked you, can you help me kind of find my swagger again, my kind of renegade? I feel like I had lost it, and the process you took me through in being able to go through and into the pain, which everyone listening knows because I've shared that since in the interim and become quite forthcoming with parts of my story that I haven't ever shared. But that being said, could you maybe help us understand how you can use that pain in a way that isn't originating from a place of disconnection, and you can actually use it for good? No big deal.
Most people, let's just talk about emotional pain, right, for a second. We do a lot of external things to avoid emotional pain, whether it's starting businesses or switching partners or, there's a lot of things that happen to avoid our own emotional pain that is happening inside of us. And most of us in the West grow up in family cultures that emotional pain is wrong or the enemy. And I believe that emotional pain is not the enemy. It's the pain denial that is the enemy. Pain denial is the definition of suffering. So when you're not able to process your emotional pain, you live in this suffering, which most people in the West, I would say, live in this kind of suffering. That's why we're so medicated, right? There's this thing, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but everyone doesn't feel very good. And it's this trap of avoiding pain, emotional pain. I believe that the emotional pain is actually, for me, it is the, I call it the energy, right? It is the catalyst for inspired action. There's so much dormant energy in emotional pain. There's so much clarity in the emotional pain. There's so much power in the things that we've been avoiding and escaping. And the question is, what would it look like for you not to run or medicate when you feel something painful or the tension, but you to amplify the tension? What if you amplified it? What if you created a safe place for it? What if you were able to talk about it and be with it? From my experience and what I take my clients through is that's where the magic is. That's where the power is. And so we call it riding the energy. We ride the energy into a place of clarity, and whether it be a knot in your stomach, right? Dis-ease, or those knots turn into tumors, turn into disease. And I'm really into taking those emotional traumas or those lower energies, those fears, and really transmuting those into inspired action. And so I've found out the very thing that we've been running from and escaping from is actually our life force. It's the energy of elevation. I'm a big believer in just, man, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm feeling tension in my chest. Great. It's not personal. It's like they're not wrong for that. This is me. I'm feeling it. Okay, I'm going to be with it. I'm going to create a safe place for it. I'm going to listen. And I have a whole process that I go through to ride the energy. I have a gray areas, right? Being in gray areas relationally, being in gray areas with your life purpose, being in gray areas just with your business. Well, I don't know what we're doing. Kind of that. All of that is just unprocessed emotional pain. It's stuck energy that's wanting resolution. And remember, all emotional pain is looking for is resolution. And so when you have the ability to create an environment of internal resolution, watch out. Like, watch out. Watch out for just the health in your life, the abundance in your life, the extra energy, the extra power. You have the bravery to create resolution for emotional energy and emotion, especially emotional pain. You can feel those people, right? Those are the people you want. Like, here's what starts to happen. I can just speak from my own experience. You don't have to chase. You don't have to hustle. The world comes to you. If you want a life where the world comes to you rather than you having to go chase it down, even prostitute your gift to get a little bit in return, or have to give way beyond your capacity or live in manic action, if you want the world to come to you, where they respond to your vibration, and it's on your terms, this is the path. And, I know both sides. I was a good hustler, but man, to now live from my heart and for the world to come to me, feels good to feel good, right? That's what we're all looking for.
It does. It does. And that's,
who knew it would come through? Who knew it would come through resolving emotional pain?
Wow. And a few rapid fire questions for you to keep us on track from a timing perspective, because I know you need to hop. All-time favorite book?
All-time favorite book. Oh goodness, that's a tough question. Probably The Power of Imagination by Neville Goddard. It's a great one.
Awesome. What keeps you up at night?
In a good way, or are you talking like what, just in general, what keeps me up at night?
However you want to interpret.
What keeps me up at night? This is funny. I'm having this little problem with my right leg, like some nerve stuff from my tennis days. So that actually keeps me up
literally
at night
keeps
on
you
a
up.
physical level.
Fair enough.
Keeps me up at night. And so,
Pirates or ninjas, who's tougher and why?
oh, pirates or ninjas? Oh man, I got a first thought was ninjas. I mean, pirates have some grit, right? They've got that salty grit, so there's some toughness there. On a physical level, they may have some toughness, but I mean, that's got to break down at some point. So the ninja, to me, is like that guy. He's stealthy. It's kind of eternal.
Final question, Brandon. What advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice that I would give is not to worry, not to spend time in worry, not to worry about my future, that I'm okay and that I'm safe and I'm provided for and I'm protected, and even if it all goes away physically, I'm going to be okay. And so there's just really no need to worry. Thank you so much, Brandon, for sharing your time and your wisdom. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?